Hey guys, Martin here. A bit of a late We're Still Here. It's technically coming out the right day, but I'm filming it the same day that it's coming out because we just spent the weekend at Momocon 2016. And if I met you there, thanks for coming by and saying hi. It was actually a really cool experience. And I've talked a lot in these videos about how going to conventions stresses me the heck out. I won't lie. Conventions are a huge source of stress and anxiety for me. I actually did have a couple of really bad panic attacks over the weekend, but it wasn't caused by any of you. It was caused by that. It wasn't anybody's fault, but depression. That's what it was. It was my well, not depression. It was my anxiety. Sometimes your brain goes into overdrive, panicking about things that aren't really a problem, and obviously it panics doubly for things that are really a problem. And whenever I think about conventions or doing panels or meeting literally hundreds of people every day during the weekend, I tend to get worried and freak out a little bit. Fortunately, Mariana was with me the whole time, and she was able to calm me down along with the help of my meds, which I'm very grateful for having them there. So if you've ever found yourself having, anxiety attacks and you haven't been able to talk to a doctor about it, I highly recommend that, because I was able to find medication that, it doesn't fix the problem. Obviously, I still have the panic attacks, but whenever I have them, I don't think, when you're having a panic attack, you almost feel like you're going to die. You feel like there's this huge weight that just is crushing down on you. At least I do. I don't know how, if you have them, how yours are, but knowing that I have, the medicine I need is like it's a lifeline for me, even though, my life isn't really on the line, but it's always there in the back of my thoughts when I'm going through one of those. I'm always like, if I can just get to my meds, I'll be all right. So, but it was a good weekend, honestly. It was a really, really good weekend. I got to have a really nice time with Mariana, and I met so many people who were so giving and so thoughtful, and people came to me with some really incredible stories, to the point that it was Mariana's idea, actually. We want to start introducing a segment of We're Still Here called You're Still Here, and it's something we're working on right now. We might introduce it in the coming weeks, but we wanted to create an email account as a way for you guys to communicate with me stories about your experiences with depression and anxiety, or even just feeling miserable or traumatic experiences, those sorts of things that you feel willing to share. Not just because it might help other people, but because it might help you to be able to talk about it and hear other people, discussing what you're going through and offering their own advice. And so we wanted to have an avenue for you guys, and that's something you can look forward to in the coming weeks. That we'll have sometimes on We're Still Here, we'll be talking about what you've been going through, just because it's called We're Still Here, and I want it to be about what we're going through. So not just me, because at the end of the day, I'm sure there's only so many times you can hear me prattle on about my experiences with depression. But yeah, look forward to that. I do like to talk about things that make me happy at the beginning of these videos. I don't often do it, but I like to do it, and sometimes I just don't feel happy enough. But I did want to say, before I move on to the less fun part of the video, that you guys gave me a really positive experience this weekend. I was very worried. My panels, whenever I have panels, I'm always convinced they're going to just blow up in my face. And I had a pretty severe panic attack before my panel on Friday. I left the booth at Momocon to do an interview, because sometimes when you guest at a convention, they'll have you do press. And I don't often get asked to do press interviews because quite often, quite frankly, I don't think people are that interested. So I don't usually have to do them, but this time I was asked, and I was going to be interviewed with Mariana at the same time, so I figured, what's the harm? And it completely threw me for a loop, because they were asking me questions about, how I am able to support Mariana in the work that we do, and I couldn't get my head around the question. I was too busy panicking. And so I just shut down in the middle of the interview, and they were filming me the whole time. And I'm sure if it gets out there, you can probably, there's that scene in The Simpsons where they zoom in on Ralph, and you can pinpoint the moment his heart breaks. Well, I'm sure if you watch that video back and you freeze frame, you can pinpoint the moment that my eyes just sort of glaze over, and I try and pretend that I'm not even in the room, because that's what it felt like. I just wanted to be anywhere but there. I felt really, I was cracking under the pressure, and that was on me for just being, at the end, like I feel like I just had like run myself ragged, and I just wasn't prepared for such a personal question. And it wasn't like it was a really, really probing question. It was just a simple question about my personal life, and I'm not used to discussing that in interviews. So it threw me for a loop, like I said, and I ended up having a pretty rough panic attack for a good half an hour at least following that. And I was able to calm down with Mariana's help, and with the help of my medication. And I went to my panel, and even though I wasn't as active in the panel as I would have liked to have been, people really enjoyed the panel. And it was a huge wave of relief. It was one of those things where if I had let my anxiety and my depression and my self-doubt take over, I wouldn't have done that panel. I wouldn't have had that experience, and it would have been not a catastrophe because, oh no, a panel's been cancelled, but I would have been angry at myself. It wouldn't have been like a depression thing. I wouldn't have just been like, oh, I'm so pathetic. It would have been, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you go out there and take some time for those people and make them happy? Because you're perfectly capable of that. Why did you let your fans down? I would have been very frustrated with myself, but I'm instead very relieved. I don't know if you can hear that, but the rice cooker just went off, so I think that's my signal to stop talking about how really great Momocon was for me, because you guys made it great. I wanted to say one thing before moving on to the less fun part of the video, which was I just started reading Marvel comics. Literally in the last week or so, I just started picking up Marvel comics for the first time. And I've always wanted to read comics on a regular basis. I wanted to collect them, and thanks to my iPad, I'm able to, with Marvel digital sales and everything. And I'm really getting into it. And in my head, when I'm reading it, I'm like, I wish there were. I don't even want to be a superhero myself. I've never really wanted that, but I wanted to live in a world where superheroes do exist. And I remember thinking to myself, I wish there were a way I could be in this place where there are these costumed heroes just everywhere, just all over the place, and they help people out in their day-to-day lives, and they're real people, and it's just something that's part of your life. And then I realized, that is part of my life, because whenever I go to these conventions or even, online, there are people who dress up as characters, and they inspire me because they're able to go out there and really they come up to me at panels and stuff and at my booth, and they talk to me about their own experiences, and they make me feel strong enough to deal with my own personal problems. So you guys are my costumed heroes, and I just wanted to say that really cheesy thing before we move on to the other part of the video, which is about something very personal to me, and it's not specifically linked to depression, but I will make it linked to depression because I think it does relate to it. So here we go. When I was 16, I first got the internet. I think I was 16, 15 or 16. I was a teenager, and I was a really stupid teenager. I won't lie. I mean, who isn't? We're all pretty dumb. When we're kids, we do things without thinking. We do things without thinking about the consequences, and I did a lot of that. I did a lot of doing without thinking, and the internet allowed me, as I'm sure you've all experienced yourselves, to do a lot of things without thinking and without caring, especially about other people and how they would react to what I was doing. Obviously, anonymous posting online, when you don't have the the fear of people knowing who you really are, you don't act the way you would in real life. And in real life, even back then, I was kind of a shy, not like, wasn't keeping to myself so much. It was before I'd had like sort of my breakdown, and I was a shut-in, and I couldn't leave the house. But it was during a time where I was very much kept to myself. I had like maybe two friends in school that I would hang out with, and that was more than enough for me. I just sort of needed to have my own little world that I lived in, and then the internet became my own little world that became a big world eventually. But I remember just taking advantage of people, by just lying to them about myself and trying to make up things that made me feel like I was a better person. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I wouldn't go as far as to say I was a completely different person, although I may as well have sometimes. I would say things like, oh, my parents hate me, just to drum up sympathy. Whereas, my parents love me unconditionally. I can admit that. That's not even an admission. It's just a fact. My parents love me. My mother, my father, my family loves me. My family has loved me since day one and have shown me nothing but unconditional love since then. Since I existed. But I wanted people to have a reason to care about me, especially people I would, fall for. I had crushes on women, men, and I would just say things that played to their expectations or made them, drummed up sympathy for myself. And I hate to say this. I hate that I did this. I hate my 15-year-old self because he was an idiot. He had no real life experience, and I still don't have that much real life experience, but he was the worst. He would just do anything, and in my head I was like, I'm just doing this because I need a friend, but I would do it because I wanted people to care about me, and I wanted people to care about me more than anybody else, more than they cared for anybody. I wanted to be everybody's best friend, and so I would say anything, no matter, like bold-faced lies, just to get people to want to talk to me all the time. And that was me for a good 2 years, and it was a really shitty thing to do. I still struggle to come to terms with that fact, but I just wanted people to believe that I was whatever they wanted me to be. And that was something that I really had to learn and force myself not to do, because ultimately the main reason I did it was, well, other than the fact that I just wanted to be ultimately popular, which is the stupidest reason to do anything, was that I just didn't believe that the real me had anything to offer. And that's the sad truth of it, is that, I just didn't have faith in myself. I was 15. I was a stupid kid, and what teenager doesn't hate themselves at some point, if not the whole time throughout that whole period? High school makes you hate yourself. I hate to say it, but that's what I got out of it. But I tried to, I don't know the word. I tried to avoid anything that would cause people to know the real me, and I wish I hadn't, because quite frankly, the real me is okay. I don't want to say the real me is awesome, even though therapy and everything has taught me to look at myself in the mirror and be like, you're awesome. And that helps when I need it, but I'm okay. The real me is all right. I'm an okay person. I know that I'm okay. That there are people who like me for me now. And there are a lot of people who don't think of me as who I am, and their opinion of me is fine. I if you know me as this YouTube celebrity, voice actor, whatever, that's not me. Me is just Martin. And there are people who just know Martin, who care about me, and that's what I need. That's all I need, and that's okay, and I'm okay. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is not just because I want to be like, if you've done things that are dumb when you were a kid, don't beat yourself up over it, because I've beaten myself up over it, but that didn't fix it. What fixed it was just being real and just being completely unabashed myself, and just hoping against hope that the right people, I end up meeting the right people and they end up liking me, and naturally through just being who I am. The main reason I wanted to bring it up in this video, in this series, is that depression has kind of done the opposite. Depression is very similar to it has the same mindset that I had back then, which was lie until you believe something, until you believe the lie to be truth. And the lie in depression's case is that I'm worthless. And the lie in depression's case is that things would be better without me around. And the lie that depression tells me is that people would be better off if I was dead. And that's the new lie that I've started to tell myself, as opposed to when I was a kid, when I would just tell everybody, ridiculous things just so that they would want to be there for me, or, would take an interest and want to talk to me every day. These days, depression is the one whispering in my ear and telling me things that are ridiculous and don't really make sense and have no place in reality, just so I will listen to it above anybody else, and so that its voice becomes louder and louder until it's all I want to listen to. And the scary thing is that it works, just like it worked when, for a time when I was anonymous on the internet and I told people my parents hated me. Now I believe everybody hates me and wants me gone. And I know it's a lie, but I will believe it when I hear it. So it's worse, even though I personally believe that, lying to other people is definitely the worst crime. It's worse when I'm hearing it from myself, almost, because why would I lie to myself? So I guess what I'm trying to say is I was an idiot for doing what I did when I was a kid. And I guess I'm an idiot now as well, but I'm also trying to learn how to not listen to those lies. I'm trying to learn how to not let depression be the person that I was, the manipulator. I'm trying really hard to see the real me through the lies that depression keeps telling me. And that's really hard. And I know if you're going through that, you know that it's really hard. Because it all feels real. But it's not impossible. And I want to work towards a day where, I look back on this and think, wow, my 33-year-old self was an idiot for listening. So that's the goal. Thanks for listening to this episode or watching this episode. I imagine most of you just listen to it while it's in a different tab. I don't know. I don't know how you listen to it or watch it, honestly. I've never really thought about it. But thank you for just bothering to care. Because I mean you and anybody who came up to me at the convention this weekend who just wanted to take some time and say hi, because that helps. I tell people every time, whenever they say, you mean like that, what your videos, helped me through a rough time. You've helped me through a rough time just by being there. So thank you. And I'll make sure I get a video done in time for next week, because I forgot. It slipped my mind just because the convention it worked me kind of rough. I was working 12 hours a day some days, but and time got away from me, but I got it done and it's coming out today. So I hope this finds you well, and take care of yourself.